You mentioned about the different elements to it, and we've talked about some of the things. But so some bits are almost have to be there, and some bits. So like the names
have to be there. Yeah.
Have to be there.
Yeah.
So how did you decide on the kind of weighting of that? And
well, the names, even anything to do with text, always causes a problem. It's worth talking about that because in the last one, if you go to that one, it'll say all kinds of nicknames and things like that. And some people are shown they've got various titles, a doctor of the one or two. But others who've got those titles don't put them on, So it's like a bit of. So they decided on this, you just put the proper names on, nothing else. No titles, no this, no that, it's just that. So I think that was quite a good decision, So they did that, but of course if you get any name wrong, you're in trouble really. But so there was a lot of work to try and get that right. And there was a couple of last minute, hiccups, but we got them sorted out. But and then the poem came up because I phoned up David Charters, I've known him for years now. He just became a friend of mine. And I said, David, I was thinking we should have a poem on it. And I said, I want something like something that links all these birds and I forget exactly what I was saying to him, but it was something, I mentioned the word birds came up because I was thinking a lot about the birds, and it's like the spirits of the dead. He said, well, actually I wrote something like that. He said at the time, and I said, oh, did you? So I said, send it over. So, and it was like that, the people would turn the pages of the books and they sounded like the fluttering of birds, I thought, brilliant, like that. So that's exactly what I want. I said, could you think you could elaborate on that? So just not too long, but so we did, and I thought it was just really right for it. I mean, we could have pulled up all kinds of poems from God knows where, but I think because it was contemporary at the time when he was writing, and it's half on, I thought it was a lovely idea as well. All of the fluttering of birds and what a lovely link with the sculpture. But the other thing I should mention about the background, it's sort of flat here. When you look at it, the monument, I had to do various things I thought it's got no background on, they just sort of stood in space really. So I created a sort of, I stippled all the background and I tried various things, bits of rocks and all kinds. Eventually I've got a couple of bits of hangers and bent them all around the top and I've fiberglassed them together. And I went round and so you can see it there. I did a bit on this there because this was added late because this had this football figure on originally, and see the stippling effect, and you can see the difference between that and that, that I was with clay you've only got a range of shadows because it's all about shadows. I need to create some background, and that was a bit of a problem because it wasn't natural really. So I put the birds in, and I thought, well, the birds just can't be flying, just nothingness. So, and I think nothingness in the way seemed like a good idea, but when you've got nothing in bronze, it just looks like little lumps and things stick out anyway. So, as somebody once said, if you want to hide a soup stain, dip the whole tie in the soup, So I stippled everywhere in the background, trying different things, but to create this darkness that I wanted, because when you've got a bit of darkness in it, then you can drag your fingers over, and then you've got flatness, which creates like a cloud effect. So I did that, and then I put the birds on it, and that was fun putting the birds on, all different birds doing different things. Thought that was. I found it quite moving doing that, to be honest, because I felt I was really in touch with the dead then, I know it's probably all in your mind, but I felt, I was saying, which bird would you like to be and how many birds should be on it. So I every time I tried to count the birds, because I was thinking, well, I suppose it should be 96 birds really, but then I thought, well, to include the liver birds, and there's lots of liver birds in it and so on. So I think I did include everything, but in the end I kept losing count, so I don't know how many's on it, but there's roughly around about that, But yeah, so that added a lot to it, that texture, because and bronze loves rough surfaces, you know. So because you get all these little gradients, and it doesn't always photograph well. It looks a bit flat sometimes, but when it's just been cleaned and polished, it looks quite good. You know, you can see all because the bronze itself, you know, it ages, and the cats and dogs peeing on it, you know, and that ages it as well. So you get all this stuff going on, you know, orange juice and ice creams and things that people not deliberately do. They're just life, you know, happens. People rubbing past as they walk past. People touching it, you know.
That's a very common feature of it, actually. Whenever I'm there, I go and look, and I'm always interested by what people touch. Actually, it's was that part of the design? I was going to ask you that, because obviously the names, people, if they've got an attachment to the name, they'll touch that name.
Touch it,
but I've also noticed that a lot of people simply touch the 96 plaque that's on there.
Yeah.
Was that a design feature, or is that
no?
Just
that was a late. All the things to do with this was all late, and sort of had a lot more thought gone into this space here. As this bit was being so central, because the names is the main part of it. So that's the main focal point. So. I was trying to avoid the idea of a wreath, because I didn't want to harp on the death thing, because you know, but you know, it just seemed so right, you know, in the end, to fill that space, the square space, to put the wreath on, and the liver bird. The liver bird always looks good in anything in Liverpool. So, but this worked out. I wasn't sure about this, but that worked out. Everything seemed to just fit in the end. I've got no regrets about any part of it, really, which is the way it should be, really, you know. So when I go down there, I don't get embarrassed. I don't think, oh, you know, you should do. I do think little things could be better, but that's only to satisfy me, really, you know. Because a lot of things I make, you know, I go there and I think, you know, maybe that could have been better, but you know, you're trying to get rid of that thought all the way through. You know, you're always trying to do your best in everything you do, because you know it's going to be there for a long time. And but you know, just in most sculptures, I mean, a lot of people think you're striving for reality, but only to a certain point. I mean, this is probably the main thing with all artworks, is that the artist is trying to, if you imagine there's like in a canvas, the artist is on one side projecting to it, and the observer's on the other side trying to make sense of it, you know. So it's the perfection is when it goes straight through, you know. So the intentions of the artist is received. So you're always transmitting, you know. So if you don't put anything into it, nothing will ever come out of it. So every little bit you're working on, and you're thinking, you're always trying your best. So I'm trying to make this bird right, and then I want to get this bit right, and do the eyes look right, or does this look right, or should I play it down? You know, so all these little decisions, and the overall design, everything's all come together, hopefully, and then so when somebody looks at it, you know, they go, oh, you know, I like that, it's good, you know, and ideally they would be moved by it, you know, because that's when you actually really communicate with the person. When you walk around and you think, I get this, you know, and I get this, and I don't understand it, but I get it, you know, I sort of understand, you know, that kind of thing. You're not meant to understand it, all of it, you just sort of feel that you understand it, you know. So you've had an experience, I mean, you go up there, and I think I particularly like, because if you get people outside of Liverpool who've got these preconceived ideas and all the stereotypes and that, so when they come up and they've heard about Hillsborough, and sometimes, you know, it's been mocked in the past and all that, so they come up to it and they kind of think, oh, I get this, you know, I understand now, you know, why, you know, and you see all the enormity of the names. You know, it always affects me just thinking about it now, and you think, God, you know, 21, 10, you know, I think this is ridiculous, you know, how could this possibly happen in a football match? So, and then once they've done that, and then they have the little journey around the sculpture, and it's a 3-course meal. Then you've sort of had the experience, and that's what you want, don't you?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I mean, you mentioned it earlier while we were in the studio, but so something like the Liverpool Pals it's very clearly a historical narrative, isn't it? It tells that, whereas this doesn't tell the story of Hillsborough in that kind of this happened, that happened, that happened.
Yeah.
So can you talk a bit about that? But is it partly to do with the fact that? Well, no, you tell me. I mean, what was the strategy about not making it about Hillsborough in a sort of clumsy way?
I'm just trying to get the feeling of it rather than the. That's when Richard said about the trees. You get that feeling of the loss, but without anything. There's nothing in it apart from the justice figure. There's nothing in it that's overtly political, and it just says. And I didn't want to use that phrase "walk alone," but I think what did I put on it? I used part of that song. I know on this I put "You Never Walk Alone," but I changed it to a bit. There's a bit later on in the song with "Hope in Your Heart," something like that. So it's just sort of it's just hovering. You see, as soon as you go anywhere near the tragedy. If you saw, people marching up the stretchers and all that would be so painful, and it'd just be, people wouldn't go to it. They just find it so, they did hate it actually, and they'd avoid it, But when they come along, they say, "Hang on, where is it? It says it on the top, but what's this got to do with it?" And then they go into this arty thing then, and you think, well, maybe it is the birds, or maybe it can't be these people, they don't know really, it doesn't seem to matter. The funny thing, nobody ever asks, they don't, they just accept it, which is great, It's like I say, if somebody likes something, and it's only like it because nobody ever complains about it, they just say, yeah, I like that, and they don't. If you ask them to explain what they like about it, they might pull one thing out, but they'd probably say something. Yeah, I found it really moving, but they probably maybe not even that aware of it. They probably just go up there, they read the names, and then rather than just walking away, they walk around and they pick up glimpses of things. And they just dwell on little bits. So I stand there and watch them sometimes. It's well worth just watching people. Most people are in a rush, so they don't want to look at anything really, but they'll sort of glance at it. So occasionally people touch it, and then they might, if you can always tell when someone's seen it for the first time, because they look at the names for a long time, then they sort of half walk around it because they're not in tendencies to go around it. And then they stop and then they walk a bit more and then they walk right around it. And you see they're in a rush, then they go, and sometimes they look back, sometimes they come back and walk around it again, which is great. Then you think, oh great, there's more than just the names that's attracting them to it. They're trying to get it all in the memory, So it's good when you see that. Because a lot of people have seen it a lot of times now, so they don't dwell on it that much. They just give it a glance. So occasionally people come and just tap a name like that and walk away, and that's quite nice. They'll actually change the route in town, so they walk past it and then so they say something,
Yeah, no, I was talking to one of the survivors, and her mother was killed at Hillsborough, and so she just makes it part of her route to town. So she goes by it as a memory for her in that way. So I thought that was really quite a touching idea, really. So.
Well, it's funny, a friend of ours, his son, he was at Hillsborough, and his sister was at Hillsborough as well. They were really worried about him, but he's had a lot of problems since then. I think his marriage broke up over all kinds of things, and he has because he was pulled out of the crowd. Remember standing on people and stuff like that. Because to be honest, the only way you're gonna get out, isn't it? So I remember on the day of the unveiling, and I saw him, and he just sort of, he was in dressed for, he was riding a bicycle, had shorts on. I thought, how weird is that? He's come turned up like that. And I saw him, he wasn't even going to introduce us, and I called over to him and he said, "Oh, hi," he said, "Oh, I just passing by, you know." It's like, it doesn't make any sense at all, really, does it, you know? But I think his feelings are complex, although he hasn't told me. Part of it is guilt, you know. It's part of his guilt, and it was there. And it's like the childhoods are like stopped. And in fact, it's in one of this. In my, I mourn from my childhood with someone else. But the thing I admire about Sheila is she does everything kind of. Apart from this was difficult for her because she does everything low key. You know, she's not a high profile person, and she's genuine. I think genuine. Very genuine person, and she's not looking for glory or anything, She is just interested in getting something done for whatever, But I don't think she regrets this, I say that I meet her now and again, but I think it's a testament to her, really, that she had courage to do, because it did take quite a lot of courage, because as I say, they do have this little thing going, and it could easily have been a disaster, and I think they probably thought it might be a disaster, but so you don't know what's going to happen on the day, because in the end the artwork has to sustain this barrage, of people not wanting to like it. So presumably they come up to it and they go, it's alright, and they go off, you see, and then they decide to just forget about it.
I mean, that is an interesting tension, because the names are there. Because obviously Sheila's thing is with the survivors, and of course they're not named on it because they're survivors. No. So it's interesting, that tension that's in there. That those who did die are there.
That's right.
But then these other figures, in a way,
no, but they're not there, but they're in there. Yeah. That's right. My favourite bit is that void in the middle, really, because whenever I'm down there, I kind of remember that what the void in the middle was supposed to mean. So you symbolically feed your memory into it, So it's like a collection box, As people go past, and whatever the thoughts they have are enshrined in it, aren't they? I suppose. I mean, they're not really, but if there's multi-universes, anything's possible.
You mentioned, which I thought was a really interesting point, about it also addressing people from outside Liverpool. Can we talk a bit about that? Because the thing I'm interested in, partly what I'm interested in, is this idea about unforgetting Hillsborough. So there's like the false story of Hillsborough. Yeah. And I see this as kind of as part of the unforgetting it, so that we know what actually happened. Yeah. And yet it's not figurative it's not narrative linear in that sense. No. So, So could you talk a bit more about that? Because what you were saying was really interesting about how it addresses people sort of obliquely.
Yeah, it's hard to explain that, really, isn't it? I think it's like, well, it just can't explain it very well, but lions have power. You mentioned all these the shape of something always has a power, and lions are particularly powerful. So when you see that X shape and that, you think of Jesus, you think of Shankly or whatever it is, so there's like that's sort of trying to explain, like it's a bit like looking at one of those hieroglyphics and you don't know what it means, but you know it means something. So see that you keep looking at it and you think, well, wonder what that shape means, I wonder what it actually says, and you think for like hundreds of years they didn't know what the Egyptians were talking about, but so it's a bit like that. I think there was that aspect to it as well, with mention the Egyptian thing and these shapes and that, and also the way the Egyptians, if you can remember my name, I'll live forever, and that idea of death, and then the Christian idea of or all religions' idea of we live forever, which I'm beginning not to believe. I'm not too sure about that, but No, it's I think we as soon as we go back to the earth, we live forever. We endlessly live in something, don't we? But I'm struggling to answer your question really. But it's like as if I know the answer, but I can't tell you.
Do you think that's? I mean, I knew it was a hard question, but one I was trying to ask, because is it about the intuitive aspect of it? Because you have got the text, so that tells you it's about Hillsborough, and it tells you we remember them, so it tells you its intent in that sense.
Yes.
But then the rest, in a sense, is it like? It's about the medium. I'm thinking about like how colour is used in painting. It doesn't have meaning. In a way, but it touches the emotions more than it touches the intellect. So is it that it's you're hitting an intuitive response with the imagery?
I think I think we're all sorts of pre-programmed now, because we know a lot more about art. We know all about all kinds of things, and we know about abstraction, and we're willing to accept that something is not always what it's meant to be, or it is what it's meant to be, but we don't understand it. But it doesn't mean that it's not worth looking at, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I can't explain it. But when you're working on it for so long, it's talking to you, and you're not too sure. It's like it's almost if it's taken on a life of its own, and. That's just mad, really, because it can't have a life of its own. Because I suppose it's like I'd say the only way I could answer that question, really, when I think about it, there's only a half answer. When somebody said to me, "I love your sculptures," He says, "Everywhere I go, I see you in it." I said, "Me in it?" I said, "Oh, you mean it fit like a style?" I said, "No." He says, "I literally can see you in it." I told him, he said, "I can't explain it." He said, "But you're in it all the time." He said, I look at the faces and I can see your face, and even though I know it's not your face, so that kind of thing. So, and that's the bit I was telling you about before, about which again is a very abstract thing, but you're on one side of it, and the kind of I'm looking at them, they're looking at me, and even though I'm not working on it anymore, part of me is in there. But I'm only the conduit of the people who've asked me to make it. But you're always in every artwork, whoever commissioned it. So the Justice people, they made it. I mean, they wanted it made, and then I designed it and made it. And I don't know. It's hovering between all those things, isn't it? It doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to the city, and. I just fade away. I can't remember names. It must be on this somewhere. I think it is on somewhere. Yeah, it's probably on the front somewhere, isn't it? You're supposed to put your name on anyway. But it's like, it's funny because talking about that. So one of my sculptures, or it's two sculptures actually, in Church Street. That was meant to be on a plinth, and it was on a plinth. The plinth got damaged, and then they put it on the ground. Then it got moved to one place, and then moved to another, and then it was moved to another place, brought back again. And in between all that, all its history has disappeared. It just says John and Cecil Moores. It doesn't say who made it. It doesn't say what they did or anything, And it's quite popular because it's on the street. All sculptures on the ground are popular, not because for the art. It's just part of them. You see, it's you can hug it and get your photograph taken when you put your chip bag in his hand and all this kind of thing. But this bloke phones me up all the time. He says, "You still haven't put your name on it." They're always promising to put my name back on it, and it causes so many problems. It's very, very important that everyone knows who makes what. It's like if you write something and you forget to put your name on it, it annoys people. So you say this painter's by an anonymous. It's really annoying, that, isn't it? You have to know. Hi, Catherine. This is Frank.
Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Is it Dr. or Mr. Monaghan?
It's Frank.
Frank. Tom's always called Frank.
No, adverse. Call Frank.
Oh, you brought that out. I've not seen that for a while.
Yeah,
it's easy just to have it there and talking about it.
Do you need anything? Do you want anything?
What do you think? We're just trying to figure out what this sort of idea of. You've got this, like the Pals has got a narrative.
Yes.
Whereas this hasn't really got a narrative. It's just kind of like
Well, so it's all the different types of people. That
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. They are the guardians of the memory.
But they were the kind of types of people that were at Hillsborough.
The types of people, yeah. So they are the
Because
guardians.
was the one, I'm going back a while, the pushing against.
Oh yeah, the family.
That's it.
Well, that's clear. You know what
Yeah.
that is, yeah.
And I thought that represented when they were trying to get out
Yeah.
of the fencing compound, whatever. What did the pens?
Yeah, the pens.
weren't
Yeah,
they? And they were literally crushed again. And
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was.
that
Yeah, I
sort of
remember. Yeah, that
resonates
was. It was. Yeah, that's it. And they're pushing
Yeah.
against the names, aren't they? And that sort of.
on their heads are bowed, and
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
all ages, wasn't it? What old was the youngest?
10.
Well, there's the
Mm.
young.
Well, there was a boy on this side, but the little girl, she's letting the birds go. There's lots of references to birds, but the
There's a big piece on the website about it. Do you want me to print it off?
yeah. No, I've got all that. So
Have
it's
you
just,
got all that?
no, we're just talking about how it affects you. You know,
Yeah. Well, it
because
does
like
affect people because you see, obviously, people leaving and going, and people like to. What I've noticed is that they like to put their hand on the names.
Yeah.
They just, and especially
Yeah, we
obviously the
talk
name of
about
the
that,
person that
Yeah.
they know.
Or just the 96
Yeah.
if they're not
Have you seen
connected.
Liverpool on there?
Yeah.
I've still got parts of the mould.
Did somebody commission a bit of it? Was it then? What's his name? Royston. He commissioned that bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he wanted the. So I still had the mould. Yeah.
Have you got the mould?
Yeah.
Which bit side that was commissioned specifically? I put it in there.
With the,
putting the written 96.
It's in, where is it, Tom? Is it in the RMC?
Yeah, I've got this bit and this bit. I haven't got that because that was made separately.
And did you tell Frank about originally you wanted him to be able to post?
We talked about it.
So you could still do that.
They could do, yeah. There's still a door into it, yeah.
Probably thought the management of it would be too, or maybe weatherproofing.
Can you imagine?
I don't
I'm glad in
know.
a way we didn't do that because if we had done it, can you imagine? I want to put this in and I want to take this out. You know, they put this.
I don't know. There's shrines all over the world that seem to manage with very little attention, don't they?
Yeah.
Can I get you any refreshments or anything?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks,
Well, you know
Catherine,
the Blitz Memorial, because you know Catherine was the model for the Blitz Memorial.
Okay.
Catherine Frank was saying he loves the Blitz Memorial.
Yeah.
And I'll show you a bit of fragments of it. We'll come back to this. This one.
And one thing about monuments is that they create a history.
Yeah.
They tell us they create a new one. So this is a history of Hillsborough. What would you want to come out of that as a history, as a remembrance of Hillsborough?
Do you know what I really think? To me, it's like it's got a quietness about it, and I think that all the stuff that's generated about Hillsborough and there's all anger and all the rest of it. There's none of that in this. It's very quiet. It's not political. It's not telling you. It's not saying, you know. It says the only thing it says is a disaster. Obviously, it was. You could use other words, but and it doesn't fully explain itself, and yet it kind of does on another level, on a sort of spiritual level. It seems to communicate. It is a riddle as well, which I think is good really. I think I like it when you can't fully understand something. And, you know, it's nice when somebody says, "So what's the birds for?" And you say, "Oh, it's the spirits of the dead." And you go, "Oh, God, yeah." And I say the Chinese believe that all birds or something like some of the birds, you know, the spirits of the dead. And you go, yeah, it's lovely that, yeah. And they get that, you see, when you can tell one thing, you know, everything makes sense to them. You know. You've got all the football stuff in that, you know, you can't play it down, and yet I didn't want it to be too related to, I think to me it was about people who had been in the disaster just happened to happen in a football ground. You can see all the reasons why they happened in a football ground, but once you take that out and say that, you know, all these people that just died, you know, there's a reason for that, and it's a very sad thing, and somebody might be responsible or is responsible. So, but there are all other questions for other people on there. But it's a terrible thing, and you only get it when you actually stand in front of it and read the names. There's people, they know there's 96 people, but when you bring it down to one person, like it says, Joe Bloggs, and you know, 10 years old, you think, oh, that's terrible, you know. and then you see two people related to each other and they're both there, and you think, well, that's really bad. And I think whoever, because a lot of people harden themselves to Hillsborough because they think it's something to do with Liverpool's over sentimentality or something stupid like that, they're portrayed as these sort of people who are endlessly feeling sorry for themselves or something, But when they visit the city, they think, no, it's not like that at all.
This idea about memorialisation, that it gives life back to the present in a way. So, and part of the thing that I think that I find very moving about this is the timelessness of it. Was that a deliberate thing that you were aiming for? So it's both of its time, but the way you've done it, avoiding the direct references.
It's definitely avoiding the direct references. There's no didn't want anything that was too honour, visually. I don't think it was necessary. Everyone is such a major thing, or it has been for many years now in Liverpool. I wanted to also do something that would help people to not to forget about it, but be reconciled with it, And I think the parking your feelings. I think memorials are incredibly important, and they go right from beginning of time, don't they? It's human existence. Memorials, they're the things we always find, and the human figure in memorials, or things that represent the human figure, like the standing stones and all that kind of thing. It's literally, that's where we all start and end up somehow, as in some kind of remembrance thing, and it seems to be very important. It's like, for instance, it's like I'm not very religious now, but I'm quite happy to go to church, and I totally get it. And if we didn't have it, I know we'd have to reinvent it tomorrow, because otherwise, how do we send people off? How do we remember them? How do we respect that, the passing and all that kind of thing? So I sort of wavering on that line all the time of, and I love I've done a lot of artwork to do with religion, because I sort of love Jesus, but I don't, the bigger message I'm not too sure. I don't really care about it. I don't think it matters. Like, I don't care if I go. I'm quite happy just to die and disappear into the, because that kind of thing. So, but I still like the idea of people remembering me when I'm gone, even though I don't know they remember me. We're always trying to think, when people say, oh, this record, when I die, will you play that record? So I say, yeah, I will do, but nobody will be able. You won't be able to hear it though. So, they're leaving that sort of aura of themselves, aren't they, behind? I went to a funeral recently, and the person was loved the Ring Cycle and Wagner and all that kind of thing. So they played all that kind of music there. And it was really nice, and it just made it made a change from, you'll never walk home or something, So, but it doesn't matter what it is, it represents that person. But anyway, that thing of remembrance is extremely powerful. And you see, even now, they're always bringing up memorials to different events, and they're always, when I did that memorial, I did for Gallipoli, Fred Potts. And that was quite an interesting one. They said he was the only person who got a VC from Reading, and then this bloke who did the Shavas, who spends his life tracking his. So actually there was another one as well. So he's the only one who lived in the town, isn't it? It's a much better story from one. Two, we can't handle two. We can handle one. So that's. It's funny, isn't it? And the guy, I made I'm deviating, but in that particular memorial, we've got Fred Potts, who saved Arthur Andrew. Two of them were shot. These are both heroes. They were at this for 36 hours or something. I think it was longer. Going to being shot at all the time. He'd actually been shot twice. He was shot in the ear as well, but it was only a minor injury, and they were both shot in the buttocks, and But on the monument, it doesn't mention this guy. It just said Fred Potts, and it doesn't even mention him. I thought, this is ridiculous, and his family are all there, and I put equal weight on both figures, and I thought, this is incredible, really, because they were in control of all the text. I think they would have left my name. In fact, they did leave it off, so I made sure it was printed on top of the sculpture. It was in the corner. They couldn't erase it then. It was there.
So do you think there's something about sculpture that, because I mean a lot of your work deals with remembrance in that sense, is there something particular about sculpture, do you think, that
that is a point, because when somebody dies, usually they say things like, the sculpture of you is higher than, say, it's sort of like higher than a knighthood in life or something like that. You can only so many things you have in a life. They're all very nice when you're dead, but the last thing that happens to somebody really famous, that can happen to them really, is to have a sculpture made of them. It is but just to finish off what I was saying before about monuments, you symbolically fill in the void of the dead person. That's it, and that's partly what this does, and all monuments do. It's like the Blitz Memorial as well. Underneath the Blitz Memorial, we put a CD with all the names of all the people who died that are known about in the Blitz. That was my idea, and I suppose when this came up, I didn't really like the idea of a CD, because especially the way I know CDs go, you won't be unplayable by the time they get out. But anyway, the idea of putting something inside of it was a good idea, so we got nothing in it now. It's just kind of silly, really, but maybe we don't need it. Maybe there's just the space in it, this sort of symbolic space in it is good enough, Yeah, but that's the thing, fill in the void. So it's like when people go to see Bill Shankly in the football club, or Dixie Dino and these things, that sort of fills that void of them. They're still there, we're still with them, they're greeting them as they come into the football club. Yeah, so I know, sorry I can't tell you exactly what it's all about, but
it wouldn't work if you could.
It has to tell you itself somehow,
If you could tell me, it wouldn't be there, would it? There'd be no need for it to exist if you could tell me what it meant.
No, in the very first figure I could have explained it instantly what it's all about, but it would have been so sad and tragic, that it would have been, a man like carrying this boy off the field. Yeah. That would have explained it completely, but that would have been so sad. And that doesn't heal people, does it? That's the thing. It's meant to be cathartic, healing, and make people take that next step, And I suppose it's a bit pompous, but I think it's like the making the city sort of heal a bit from as well, because even people in the city are getting a bit fed up, with it going on and on. But you can't say that. But it's like let's get to grips with this. They're doing it in the legal. That's the legal thing. They're doing that, so that'll make people feel better. Maybe. You can't stop what's actually happened, though, can you? It's just like it's happened, doesn't it?
Yeah. But now, I get your point, because this is the thing, is that people are still using it, aren't they? So for the people who were there, the survivors, and as I say, Becky who comes by, it is a place where they can go to for that in that sense, that kind of healing directly. But I'm interested in how people do relate to it. Different people, how they have a different. Because there's another survivor I know, Richie, who. Interestingly, I was just talking about coming up, and he'd just been to the Sheffield Memorial, and just saying it makes him sick. Yeah. And I thought that reaction was really interesting. Yeah. He has he'd gone, and I don't know why you haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. Yeah. But I'm guessing he went because of I don't know, it may have been a date, it may have been somebody he knew, I don't know, what triggered him to go there to visit the memorial. And yet it's a memorial that he doesn't like, and it's sort of interesting that the different responses to this one and to the Sheffield one.
Well, this he has as a walkthrough, you know, it's not, doesn't feel, it feels like, it is tragic, you know, when you see the names, but then it kind of, it's like a dance then, like, you know, when a tribal dance when around a fire or something, you know, it's hard to explain what it is. I kind of know what it is, and yet I can't explain it myself. When I was making it, all made perfect sense to me, like, you know, because I was following the design that I'd worked out and everything sort of, you know, flowing together. But then I thought it was getting a bit monotonous, so then I twisted it a little bit just to make it, refreshed it. And it's just like refreshed and goes around, and it's, you know, you're back in it again, and you know, I don't know. It is like a dance, really, isn't it? It's almost like a dance. But dance wouldn't be the right word, I suppose. It's not meant to be that joyful, really, but it's not. It's reflective, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not trying to hurt people. That's the thing, isn't it? You see all the figures here, they're all looking down. You know, everyone is looking down. Every single, I just noticed that before. Even this figure seems to be looking down. And I think she's looking up, the bird, I can remember now. And they're looking down. And so every figure is actually looking down, so it is sad. But it's not. It's just like when you come out of a funeral, isn't it? And you think everyone's been sad, and everyone shakes hand, and everyone says you have something to eat and have a drink, and everyone feels uplifted. You know, that's it. I think that's what I want. Yeah.
Well, I think you've done a remarkable job. It's a wonderful piece of work.
Oh, thank you.